So I was looking at my console on the side, going, okay, there's no place to really put your registration and stuff, so we have to put it underneath stuff. So I'm looking at this going, why don't I just make this a flip up console right here? So in order to do that, I'm going to take this off. Remove the cup holder. This snaps off. And this pulls straight up. Okay, I'm just going to throw those in here so I don't lose them. Lift this up. And to remember how wires go, take a picture. To take this out, it's not that hard, just one screw right there in the center. This comes right on out. Put my square in. They pull up hard, and this will slide right on out. There's nothing to do to the bottom part. It's already made perfectly for what we're going to do. Now I'm going to take the bezel, put it back as far as I can, and mark a line. I take the insert, push it back as far as I can. I'm going to mark the line. And measure it. It's 3/4 of an inch, so I know, get some measurements. Okay, that's 1.5 inches. Okay, I'm going to remove this piece of wood right here. I took the piece of wood off the front. When you remove these pieces of wood, there will be staples sticking up, and just take a pair of dikes or something and cut them off. So now I'm going to get ready to mark it for cutting. What I want to do is mark in the dead center of those two lines. So I mark the leather. Now I'll just take my utility knife and cut it. Giving a little pressure, but not too much, just enough to cut right through the fabric. I'll rock it over the curve. Then I just roll the fabric back to expose the wood. I got to remove a couple staples. I remove them. And got it rolled back. Need one more staple out. Staples are easy, just fly right up with a little screwdriver, take a pair of needle nose, they pull right on out. So now I'm going to take the bezel, push it as far back as I can, and line it up with the back edge. And I'm going to take a pencil and mark it. Now what I'm going to want to do is make another line about 1/8 of an inch further away from that line I just made, and that will give me some exposure of the leather when the bezel goes back in. That's going to be my cut line. Now on the back side, I'm going to line this piece of wood up with the front edge, and I draw a line on the vertical board right there, lines up with the front edge, and that's going to be the cut line. So I'm going to mark that as the cut line. And I transpose it onto the other side of the wood also. And I'm going to mark this cut line so I know don't cut the wrong line. So I know it's the outside line. And it's ready for cutting. I just take my little portable skill saw. You can use any saw, just soft wood. I just cut up through it, being careful not to tear the leather. Take it easy. Go to the other side and just do the same thing, cut on the line. I cut right on the outside of that line so the furthest away from the opening. And I just cut on the transposed line I made on earlier from the other side. I don't want to go all the way through because I don't want to cut the bottom wood, so I just cut as far as I can. Now I just take my reciprocating saw and just cut it the rest of the way. Any saw will cut it, so it's real soft wood. And now that's ready. I roll the leather up, look at it, everything looks fine. The leather will roll around it. Now the other side, the leather is going to be a little bit shorter than the wood. So I just mark the edge where the leather and the wood. Then I can go 1/4 inch from that line, from where the leather was, and I mark that. That will give me enough to overlap the edge. So, and I mark what line to cut. I'm going to remove these staples. Already loosened with the screwdriver, just pull them on out. I'm going to roll that further back. I'm going to remove this block right here. Okay, now I'm grabbing the front section and loosening up all these staples because that's where a piece of wood's going to be going. That last piece of wood we took off, I'm going to be cutting that down to 6 inches. Now I'm measuring 6 inches from the edge on the front piece. I'm doing that to the front and back, because that's how wide it has to slide into the console, is 6 inches. Now I'm taking the straight edge of the first piece of wood I have and just use that as a straight edge and mark a line. Taking the small piece that was on the front and lining it up with the line at the edge and the 6 inch. And now I'm going to just put some staples in. You could use screws, nails, whatever you want. I just use my staple gun. Now I'm going to roll the leather back up and tuck it over the edge of the board, and take the 6 inch piece I cut and tack it right to the end. You can staple it or screws, whatever you want. Now go to the other side, and you want to also tuck in the leather underneath. It's a little bit of work. Just use a screwdriver and you'll get it tight. Keep on trying, it will get tight. Okay, now that's tight, you can just screw it or use a nail, or if you have a staple gun like I do, just staple it. I'm using like 1.5 inch staples right here. Now I'm using the smaller 5/8 staples to staple down the leather. You could use a regular staple gun for this. Anything that you'd use for fabric you can use for this, no big deal. Now I'm rolling the edge over and tacking down the ends. Try to get it the best I can. As long as it's rolled over, you'll be good. You could probably even glue the end on if you wanted to. You probably wouldn't even have to staple or tack that. You could glue it if you want. As I'm thinking about it. Now this leather's excess I'm just going to cut off because it will get in the way. Slide the cup base holder back in. Everything looks tight, looks good. I got some black texture trim. It's 12 by 12 by 1/8 inch. I've already done the back of this lid. I line it up with the back two edges and just made sure it overlapped the leather and cut it and attached. And cut out the opening. Then I took 1-inch pieces and lined them up with each end and cut them and stapled them on so that way they butt up against each other. I got hinges. I'm just lining up the hinges and putting them on. Now when you put the screws in, you don't want to over tighten them because this is soft wood, they will strip. Just get them tight. And what you can do is you can put a little bit of wood glue on the screws to give it a little bit more hold and it will dry. Checking the operation, everything's working good. Now I'm going to take the front section, slide it all the way in place and push it forward. Then get some measurements. About 11 inches long, 6 inches wide, which I knew. 3 inches deep, and the trim piece against the wall will be 4 inches. I've already cut 2 pieces of 4. Now I'm going to cut one of them down to 3 inches. So I just mark both areas 3 inches. Take my straight edge and I'm going to use a utility knife and just squirt. I usually squirt 2 to 3 times. On the back side. Now you can take it to the edge of the table and just snap it there. I got my metal working tool, so I just grab the edge and just give it a good snap and just a clean break. And now I'm going to be cutting this one I just cut down to 3 inches in half to give me 2 6 by 3 inches that will go on the butt end of the front piece to cover the wood and the back end of the console opening. This 1-inch piece I'm going to use to put on the top edge against the wall to give me the proper spacing I need. I just take a pencil and mark the curve, take my utility knife, trace it, and just trim it to fit the curve. Just put a couple tacks. You won't even see this area because it's against the wall. It's just going to give me the 1/8 inch space I need to match up with the hinge area and everything. Now I'm going to take some leftover little pieces and tack them to the side and to the bottom edge to give me the proper spacing and height I need for it to fit properly. Now I'm going to slide it all the way forward, and pull the wires through the cup holder area. And make sure it goes all the way down. Make sure all the wires are out so it doesn't get pinched. Make sure it's down, pushed all the way forward. Now I'm going to put 2 screws in to hold it against and tighten it down. Then I'm going to pull the wires through the switch area. Now this back trim piece I've already attached the night before with some E6000 staples and let it cure. I'm checking out the alignment of the hinge and the hood. Everything looks good. Now I'm going to put 1 screw on to the inside part. I'm doing. Now take a look at the pictures of the wiring I had so I can put all the wires back together properly. Now you just want to slide it back in, stuff all the wires back in, slide the switch in, get the screws, push it forward to the top and screw it in. You're going to be going into fresh wood. You're not going to be going to the original holes. So just put all 4 screws in. They'll tap their own hole, so you don't have to worry about drilling anything. And again, don't over tighten them because they will strip. Now I'm going to take the 2 pieces of 6x3, tack one onto the back of the console and one onto the front area opening to the wood. Now I'm going to line up the latch in dead center with that little piece of trim put down there, and I'm going to tighten it up. Want to make sure it's flush with the top of the console. You don't want to over tighten them because it will strip, and just get them tight and snug, and that's good. Now that little piece is like 1.5 inches by 11, and I cut a little notch in it where the dead center is for the latch. Now I'm going to be applying E6000 to the back side of this. I've applied E6000 to all the pieces, and the one on the wall I've applied and let it cure overnight with a couple staples to hold it in place while it cured. So it'll be good and tight. Now I'm going to let this set up and get tacky. Then after it gets tacky, I'm going to set it in, push it up against underneath, and take a couple clamps to hold it up tight against it and let it cure. Now after it cures, I'm going to take the lid, line up the hinges, and I'm going to put 1 screw in the front hinge, and take 1 screw and put it in the back hinge. Now I'm going to close it to make sure everything lines up properly, and since it does, I'm going to put the rest of the screws in. If it didn't, I would just take those 2 screws out, readjust until I got it right. Then as soon as I got it adjusted right, then I put all the screws back in. But since I got it right the first time, I'm just putting all the screws in now. I'll have to cut a piece of trim that fits the bottom. Okay, for the latch now, everything looks good. So I'm going to take the latch and I'm going to put some super glue on each end of the latch, some Gorilla super glue. Now if everything works like I want to, when I shut the lid and put some heavy weight on it, to hold down on it and let it harden, if everything goes right, when I pull it up, the latch will come with it and I can just put the 2 screws in to hold it in place. And it did not work. But the good news is it did leave marks on where the latch will attach to the lid. So I just line it up, put a little ticky on it to get it to stay, and just put the screws in. Again, don't tighten them too tight because they will strip or crack the plastic. Just want to get them snug. I shut it. Okay, it's a little tight. It needs to be moved over a little bit, so I just loosen them up a little bit. It has adjustment to it. I push it over a little bit, a little bit more, and then tighten it down. Close it. Okay, still a little tight because it's a straight-on latch and this is curved turning, so I give it a little push, a little bit more, and that gives a little curve to it, and slides in and out perfectly. So now this is my driver's side console. Oh. little glove box. Put stuff in it. Lock it up. I got my change holder right here. Locked on. Put it back. Here, snap. Lift up. Latch. That's it.